Hello, everyone, and welcome. We're so excited to have you all here. Thanks for joining us. I'm Trisha Noodleman, VP of Event Operations and Client Success, and this is our second edition of Boulder Insights Live. We're super excited to have you here. And today we are going to be going over auction best practices, which will include procurement, item management, features in the software, and we really encourage you to put questions in the chat. I will be checking on those and we'll have those at the end of our webinar. Elise is in the background. She's doing all of our slides. She's our VP of Strategy and Infrastructure. And hi, Elise.
Howdy,
um,
everybody.
and without further ado, again, let us know questions in the chat. Let us know where you're from. We love to hear from you. And here's our founder and CEO, Linda Shaw. Enjoy, everyone, and thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Trisha. Really appreciate the introduction, and thank you all for joining us for version 2 of Boulder Insights Live. Today, we're going to really talk mostly about silent auctions and what makes a successful silent auction. There's definitely a shift in the fundraising industry. We get questions all the time about, oh my gosh, silent auctions are so much work. Is it really worth it to do an auction? And so we're definitely going to talk about that. We know that creating a quality auction takes a lot of staff time. It costs money to pay your staff, all of the months of procurement and packaging. And then when items sell for less than retail value, it's natural that you start thinking about, oh my gosh, should we continue to do this? So we're going to talk about some of the pros and cons, and I like to start with the cons, the reasons that we hear people don't want to do a silent auction. So, again, if you do the cost benefit analysis, you'll see that a lot of times silent auction sells for 60 to 80% of the value. Requires a significant amount of staff time to manage and pull that off. Other question we get a lot is, does it detract from the live auction and the paddle raise? And on that one, it's absolutely critical that you open the auction early, let your donors check out the items before they get to the event. And then, most important is being sure to close the auction before that fundraising piece starts at your event. Typically, the silent auction bidders are the ones that are looking for a deal. They might be first-time donors, they may be younger donors. They're, in most cases, not the ones that are going to be bidding in the live auction. So making sure that you're giving them an opportunity to participate in your fundraising event. But absolutely, we do not think that it's a detraction from the live auction and paddle raise as long as you manage the timing correctly. The pros of having a silent auction, again, most items are donated. So if you look at, well, they're selling for under value, but you didn't pay anything for them. So you got those items donated. You've probably spent years creating those business relationships with the local donors who want to give to your organization. They support your mission, and they know it's also a great way for them to build new customers. Rather than spending lots of ad dollars, they give a donation to your auction, they're likely to get a new customer. So even though the value can be less than retail, it's still a strong net revenue for the nonprofit because you didn't purchase that item. Definitely impossible to replace this revenue stream. We've seen a lot of our clients go away from doing the silent auction, and then they come back and say, hey, our donors really missed it. And, we used to make $30,000 on our silent auction and, thought that by not doing it, we would make that up with people just giving more in the paddle raise, and that didn't happen. So definitely a really important piece of your financial strategy. Other big pro of doing a silent auction is it's an entry-level giving opportunity both for businesses and donors. Let's say you ask a local business to be a sponsor of your event. They say no, oh my gosh, sorry, our budget is used up this year. But hey, I'm happy to give you a gift card. Or I've got season tickets to the Avs game. I'm happy to donate to your auction. Likewise, donors that are coming to your event, when they, those first time donors, those younger donors, it's an entry level giving opportunity for them as well. They feel good about when they purchase an item and they've been able to give, even though maybe they're not able to purchase a live auction item or give a substantial gift in the powder raise. And then the last big pro is just quite honestly the entertainment value. We hear it all the time from clients that stopped doing the silent auction and they heard loud and clear from their donors that they missed it, that they wanted it. And so really having something, it gives people something to do during the cocktail time. And again, for those first time donors, people who are new to your event, it's a way for them to bid. And who doesn't love to win something? So definitely, if you're asking the question about whether to keep or kill your silent auction, we absolutely recommend keeping it. We know that curating a quality auction can be difficult, but when it's done well, it's fantastic source of revenue. And the biggest trend that we're seeing is fewer items, quality over quantity. It really is difficult if you're trying to produce a 200 item auction, just keeping track of everything, managing all of that. So our recommendation is rather than a 200 item auction, really focus on somewhere between 50 and 75 items. Again, there's always exceptions to that. Schools probably the most common where the donors still want hundreds of silent auctions, but definitely really kind of the trend is fewer items. Um, so we definitely recommend starting with an item procurement plan instead of just winging it and saying, okay, well, let's just see what we can get and we'll go from there. First thing you definitely always want to do is evaluate previous results. The best way to do that is pull your sales margin report. In the BolderBid software, the sales margin will actually print on the sales reports. If for any reason it doesn't print on the sales report, it's really easy to calculate. It's just the sale price divided by fair market value times 100. So our recommendation is pull that list and then focus on the top half of your list. Not necessarily, not always what sold for the most money, but what sold for the highest value, because that's going to be an indicator of which items had competitive bidding, which items the donors were really engaged with. So just if you're looking at industry trends, you can see, this is almost without exception. Experiences are always, always, always going to be your best option, both for silent auction and live auction. You can see the margins there. We see experience selling typically for 90 to 150% in a silent auction and up to 300%, if not more, in a live auction. So things that the bidder maybe can't get on their own. So a behind the scenes tour at the zoo, any kind of tasting, any kind of wine and food tastings. Well, I have that on the next list. But again, any exclusive experiences that they can't replicate. Second top category is that dining, wine, spirits, and tastings. Sports packages, travel and vacation homes kind of come in closely behind that. And then once we get down to the bottom half of this list, curated gift baskets, they can be fantastic if somebody gives you a basket that is already put together. This is the biggest time suck for development teams is, oh gosh, we want to create these great baskets, and then spending hours and hours of, well, what do we currently have and what can we put together and what can we combine? And you can kind of see, again, it's going to be dependent on what's in the basket, but our margin has dropped there quite substantially once we're looking at the baskets. And then merchandise, spa, beauty, also kind of a lower return. And then at the bottom of our list is typically artwork and jewelry. So artwork and jewelry are both fantastic and can be wonderful, but they're very personal piece of art. might be just what you think is the most fantastic thing in the world, and you don't have a single bidder that is interested. So really, what makes a great silent auction item is that 100% of the people that see it want it. So if you kind of keep that in mind as you're looking to procure items, is anything that limits my audience. Orthodontic services. Not everybody needs braces. So really trying to focus on the top of this list and spending your procurement efforts accumulating those items. Um, Next suggestion is make sure you start early. 6 to 8 months out is what we recommend. A lot of companies have limits to how much they can donate in a calendar year, so you want to get out there in front of them before everyone else does. Most importantly, make it easy for the donors. Give them clear instructions. Offer to pick up the items if need be. Create a QR code with a link to a simple donation form. Probably the most important thing is just making it simple and easy for somebody to give the donation. So with BolderBid software, we do have that exact feature that the donation form is easy for people to fill out. They can easily add their description. They can easily update images. So you're not only making it simple for the donor, you're also reducing your staff time because the donors are entering their items directly into the software. Um, we do still recommend mailing a procurement letter and a form. Some people like that. They like to have that in their hands. It's something maybe they need to get approved by their boss. They've got it in their stack of to-dos. They can fill out that form and send it in. Likewise, giving the option on that letter, again, that QR code, if they would rather make the donation online than filling out a form, they can certainly do that. We do recommend then following up with an email reminder. Hey, just a reminder, our event's coming up, reminding them of recognition opportunities. With our software, you've got the ability to show sponsor logos on the bidding side if you want to. And of course, anybody who donates an auction item, they're going to be recognized as a donor on the mobile bidding platform. Always great to follow up with a phone call. We find that those 3 touch points typically lead to the most success. And final, really important piece is make sure you do send a donor thank you immediately post-event. We feel it's easier to just send them all in bulk at the end of the event, but we do have some clients that say, you know what, we keep up with them and we send them as the items are received. So whichever makes the most sense to you, but absolutely super important. It's the easiest way to lose a donor by not providing them with a thank you. So next task is to recruit and train your procurement champions. Typically, these are sponsors, board members, staff, volunteers. Every single one of those people has connections in the community to acquire really great auction items. As we talked about before, the experiences, many companies have a box that they, with season tickets to sporting events, many other type events, and they don't use them all the time. So being able to, reach out to those connections, who can donate season tickets, who has a vacation home, who has a friend who's a professional chef. So really, really recruiting that team and letting them know that, their connections are what are going to help make your silent auction a great success. The other thing we recommend is keeping those procurement forms in your car, giving them to your procurement team, tell them to keep them in their car. People donate to people. So if I go in and purchase a new e-bike at my favorite sports shop and bring in my procurement form in for my favorite nonprofit, hey, would you be willing to make a donation? They are much more likely to because they know that I'm a good customer of theirs. The recommendation here, and this is kind of training your procurement team, start big and then scale down. So ask for the sky, and you never know if you're going to get it, and then scale down as needed. So first ask, example, you have a friend who owns a restaurant, and would you be willing to donate one of your chef's time along with to curate a private in-home dinner for 12 people with wine pairings in someone's home. Okay, it's a big, beautiful live auction item. They say no. Second ask is, hey, well, no worries. Understand that can be challenging. Would you be willing to sponsor a dinner for 8 in your restaurant? Again, third ask, say no to that one. Wow, gosh, I'm hoping you'll be able to donate a restaurant gift card. So giving them the opportunity to say yes at the level that feels good to them. Next one is huge, huge, huge in our electronic world today is focus on building an online database. So many of the donors out there currently, if you send them a letter, they're like, yeah, we're not responding because we have an online donation form. So really trying to start building that online donation database. Definitely we recommend focusing on local businesses rather than national businesses because they're going to be a lot more likely to donate. And use AI. You can type in a search, give me a list of 100 Colorado companies that have an online donation form, and then set a goal. No one likes to sit there for hours on end, filling out all those forms, but set a goal. Maybe I'm going to do 10 a week. And then as you see what donations come in, you now can create a database to say, okay, we sent to REI, they donated. We sent to Dick's Sporting Goods, they didn't donate. So kind of keeping a list. So next year, instead of reinventing the wheel and spending the time reaching out to those that didn't donate this past year, you're just working to continue to build a list of companies, businesses that are willing to donate to your cause. Um, so anyway, can't stress enough how important it is to kind of develop that plan in advance. Really get your procurement, plan in good place. And definitely that will lead to more success, again, curating those quality items rather than casting the big wide net and taking anything that comes your way. Um, so moving on to item management, we definitely get a lot of questions on what's the easiest way. Again, doing this piece effectively, the goal is really to reduce your staff's time, your time, not touching items, 5 different times, and making sure you have a good plan in place for managing the donations that do come in effectively. So first and foremost, is selecting an auction software that's simple and intuitive. Again, can't stress this one enough. Making sure that you have a partner, that you have a partner, not just a platform. What we're finding a big trend in the auction industry these days is a lot of the larger CRMs are buying up auction software products so they can offer a full suite of products to their customers. Unfortunately, in a lot of cases, we see that this is simply done to attract new clients, and they do not they have really no intention of developing the product. They're simply maintaining it so they can offer that full suite to their clients. So super important when you're talking about finding the right auction software is how often are new features released? Is is there a way to submit feedback? Are we making changes? So again, I can say with absolute confidence, BolderBid software, we are always making changes, and it's part of the reason why we started doing these webinars is just to keep all of our clients up to date on exactly what those new features are. Second point here is building a system that reduces touches. So basically, instead of you know, the donation comes in and we've got a development team and 3 people look at it and say, oh, that's a nice donation. I'm going to put it in my pile and I'm going to enter it next week. It's really being efficient about how those donations are received and who's responsible. So we definitely recommend entering the items directly when they're received. So they're not sitting in a stack that somebody has to deal with later, and also photographing the items when they're received. So if you got a piece of jewelry, you take the picture, upload the image, enter the item, enter the description, and move it to the done category. We then recommend making an instant decision. Is this going to be a standalone package, a standalone item, or is this going to be something that we want to package together? Again, we see where hours and hours are taken up by development team trying to decide, oh, I don't know, we could combine it with this instead of just making the decision and move on. Typically we recommend any item that's under $50 value that you would always package that, combine that with something else. But again, make that decision. And then just keep the items that you know you're going to package later, kind of keep those in a file bin. So once you have all of your items in, you can then make those packaging decisions. Um, Another way to save time, money, effort in your item management is to package experiences instead of things. So examples are date night, where you might package symphony tickets with theater tickets with some restaurant certificates. Really fun package for somebody to bid on. But for your team, all you had to do was put all of those certificates into an envelope and you're good to go. Versus creating those, again, really nice, fantastic baskets, but that are time consuming. So you get a new coffee grinder donated, and then you're like, well, we should create a coffee basket, but then you've got to go out and get more donations and maybe go out and even purchase items. You have to purchase the basket and the wrap and the shred and the supplies. So really, again, being strategic and saying we're working to create packages that are going to be fantastic, that people are going to love, but that aren't going to take a whole lot of time on our end. And then the other big one is we know we always get items donated that just maybe are not anything that you would ever want to include in your auction. Good example is used items. Definitely something that you don't want to include. A lot of times you'll get lower valued items or things that you just know are so direct, SAT prep course or something like that. So definitely making a decision. It's okay not to include everything. And a lot of times you can take some of those items that you've decided not to include in your item and do something creative with them. We see them given out as gifts to volunteers. We also see a lot of organizations that maybe create mystery bags and they have 50 mystery bags available and they put some of those smaller items into those mystery bags that didn't make it into their silent auction. So we're super excited to announce that we have a fantastic new item packaging function in BolderBid. And we really believe, we know right now a lot of our clients enter their items directly into a spreadsheet. Still absolutely can do that. Our team is still more than happy to help with that, more than happy to upload that for you. So if you want to go that route, not a problem at all. But we're really excited to introduce that we do have a new packaging function in BolderBid software. You can now combine two or more items into a single auction package. We have Auction GPT built into the software. So as soon as you combine those two items, those three items, four items, the system will automatically suggest a title that combines all three items and a description along with a sum of the fair market value of the item. So again, huge, huge time savings. Instead of having to copy and paste it into ChatGPT, we have this built in to do that for you. You can, of course, go in and edit any of the descriptions that you want to, but again, really big time saver. Only available for silent and live auction items with no bid. So, of course, if your auction's open and there's already bids on an item, can't package them. And once an item is packaged, it's really easy to see on the back end which items were packaged, which items are included in that package, and the items that have been packaged will be assigned a 9,000 level number, marked invisible. Absolutely not possible for them to show up as part of the auction. So really great and easy way for you to track which items have been combined and which items are standalones. Finally, the system will build display card. So just like for any other item package, whatever is entered for that combined package will show on the item display. So we thought it would be super helpful to do a little demo, just kind of show everybody how that packaging works. So I have my assistant, Elise, who's running the back end for me. But typically what we recommend is start with two pretty important setup functions. So if you go into items, the first thing we recommend is setting up your categories. So typically, we find it's about 6 to 8 categories will cover all of your items. So you can see some of the categories we have set up. So it's as easy as just clicking that Add Category button, creating whatever categories you want, and then yep, down there at the bottom, you can create your category, and then you can list the sort order of how you want it to show on the bidding site. So we definitely recommend that you let the system sort first by category, then by item number. And so you can set that up at the top. And of course, probably always going to have your live auction listed first. And then you may decide, oh, I want all the rest of the categories in alpha order. Or maybe I want the categories that I know are going to be more popular first. So that's what we have. We know that food and beverage section is always the most popular. So we have that listed right after the live auction. So definitely good to get that all set up when you first get started. And then if you go into items, manage items, second step is to be able to set the defaults for your bidding, how you want the system to assign starting bid and raise. So if you click that pricing defaults button, you can see there that you can set, I want my starting bid of my items to be 40% of fair market value, and then I want the raise to be 10% of fair market value. So that is typically what we recommend. Of course, you can set that at whatever level you want. You can also put in a buy now option to maybe say, I want to sell this for 200% of fair market value. We typically don't recommend that with mobile bidding, just to leave it unlimited. You never honestly know how much somebody might be willing to pay for an item. So once you've done those setup functions, you can then go into manage items, and you can see all of your items listed, and you can select any of the items that you might want to combine. So we talked earlier about a date night package. So we have dinner for two at Anthony's, a Carboy winery tasting for two, and then a date night tasting at Blanchard Family Winery. So great one to combine into a date night package. So you have to select at least 2 items to create a package. You can select, there's no number on the high end, so you could include 3 items, 10 items, however many items you want to package. And then you click on that package items button, and you'll see then the system will pull up 2 panels there for you, building your package. On the left side, you see all of the linked items that you've included in your package. If you click the drop down arrow next to any of those linked items, you can kind of see the details on, what the item was and what you included. If you decide you don't want to include one of these, you can easily remove it from the package. You could also go back and say, oh gosh, I really didn't want to remove it. You can go down to the bottom of the left panel and search to add back that item or any other item that you want to add to the package. Once you've got all of your items in there, on the right side, you can then see all of your package details. So the system will automatically assign an item number. You may or may not need to go back and update the item number, but it'll automatically assign a number. It will then take all of the items that you included, and it'll create a title that's combining those three items. It will also sum the fair market value of all three of the items and then set the starting bid and the bid increment based on that default that you gave the system. There you can choose the category. In this case, probably makes sense to keep it in the food and beverage category, but there may be times when you want to switch it and put it into a different category, maybe entertainment. But definitely you've got the ability to edit any of these fields that you'd like to. Um, Again, you can click on the description. The Auction GPT has automatically combined the descriptions that we had for those three items. May be fantastic. You say, I love it to death, or you can update it to whatever wording you'd like, or you can toggle off using Auction GPT, and in that case, it will just pull the description that you had for each item divided by a horizontal line. So we, have some clients that prefer to do that. So totally up to you whether or not you liked the one combined description or each individual item listed itself. The system will always also pull, so in the exceptions field, that's typically where you're going to put expiration dates, anything that's going to impact the purchase decision of that item. So you can see here we did have some expirations, some exceptions. So it pulled from all of the items and then listed which item that applies to. If you click on the what happens button, oh, sorry. Sorry, Elise, I forgot about the bottom of the page. So package images, the system will also combine any images that you had for all of those items. Just like with a standalone item, you can include up to 10 images for each item. So in this case, we don't have that many items. So we did have a duplicate for Anthony's, so we're going to say, you know what, we don't need two Anthony's images. We're just going to select the other three and then say choose those files. And whichever image is sitting on the far left here, that's going to be the image that shows on the bidding site. And then there will be an arrow indicating that you can click through to see the other images. So definitely with vacation homes and all of that, encourage you to include, that max of 10 images so you can kind of show the details of the property. Down at the bottom, custom tags is not something we use a ton, but you can definitely assign a custom tag to your items that's then searchable. Probably the most common way we see this used is if there's procurement teams that are challenging each other who can bring in the most items. You could create first grade team, second grade team. You could create bronze, gold, and silver. And then post event, you could reward that procurement team that brought in the most items. Down at the bottom of the page, you can click that what before you actually make the package, what's going to happen next. So if you click that what happens next, you can see that that new package you created is going to be there. It will be biddable with all of the details that you've created. All of your original items are linked to that item. They will automatically be marked invisible and cannot be bid on. They will also be assigned a 9,000 level number, so they're easy to identify, and you can easily see on your item list, those are not biddable. As we already discussed, the combined values the values will all be combined, and then your package is ready for bidding. So you can just click that and then say finish, and now you've got your finished packaged item. So really easy to go in and modify an item. So if you can go back in and click that little icon next to the package that we just created. So you'll see they're really easy to see all three of the items in that package. You can also see that the system has assigned a package tag. So okay, that wine and dine package number 105 has been packaged. Some of my other items are included there. and they've all been assigned those 9,000 numbers, so we know that those won't be showing in the auction. You can open this package at any time and make any changes. So you can go back in, as we discussed already, delete items, add items, make any changes that you see fit to that combined package. From your item view, you can also toggle and see there's a different view. We like it the way it defaults. As Elise is showing, you can click on the package and then you'll see the items nested underneath that are part of that package. You can also at the top turn that off if you don't want to see that. And then you'll just see a whole bunch of the items that were packaged will all live there in your item list with but they're not necessarily nested under the combined package. So you can toggle that view on or off, whichever makes the most sense to you. Um, Elise, anything that I've forgotten out there?
No, I think we've got lots of details here, but I think our next updates are really great because when we're managing multiple items at once.
Yeah, yeah. So then just some other item management reminders. One of the things we really love about BolderBid software is the ability to batch update items. Again, this can be a huge time saver. So you can come in and say, you know what, we originally weren't going to charge sales tax, but now our finance director is telling us, yes, we need to charge sales tax on our physical items. So you can select which items you want to apply that to, and then just say taxable, yes or no. Yes, I want to make this item taxable, and then click the update button. So you can see all of your options there. You can, maybe you decide you want to increase or lower your minimum bids and your raises. You can do that in bulk. We use this feature all the time to set not opening, closing times for the auction. So this is where we go in and say, we want all of our items to close at 8 o'clock on October 1st. So really big time saver to be able to do that bulk updating. A lot of softwares out there do not allow any kind of bulk update functions. Um, Another great time-saving feature is if you receive two of the same item. Most common we see is ComedyWorks tickets. A lot of times ComedyWorks will give you 10 admit 2 tickets. Instead of having to enter that item 10 times, you can enter it once and then say, you know what, I want to duplicate this item. So you just select it, click duplicate there at the bottom, and it will duplicate everything that you've got in for that original item. The other great feature is if you look at manage item images, you can easily see if you have any items that are missing an image. Really easy to see that. You can also see sometimes when an image is uploaded, it gets flipped. So if you notice any of those that have been accidentally flipped, you can easily just go into this manage item images and correct that. You do not have to open each item and fix it individually. So great time saving feature there. And I think, just we have a lot of more tips and tricks related to silent auction success. So definitely, you can always let your event manager, your event consultant know if you'd like to set up a time to chat in further detail. We've recently updated our auction best practices document, so we're definitely happy to share any of our additional tips and tricks with you. So um, I think that's it for me today. And I think Trisha's coming back on. We're going to just see if we have any questions that anybody has that we can answer. And Trisha is the most detailed auction curator I've ever met. So she's always got tips and tricks and ideas for how to improve your auction. So, Trish, I don't know if you have anything to add.
Linda, you covered a lot of territory, so that was fantastic. Thank you for that deep dive. But as always, your event manager, we're all here for you. So ask your event manager if you have questions as you're getting into the process, as you're trying to think through how to organize your auction. I do love a well-numbered, well-organized auction. I think it makes it really easy for you when you bring it to your event to set it up. It's really easy to say to your volunteers, you know, anything in this number range goes on that table that has the sign that also has the matching category name. Just making that easier for everyone because you will have your auction memorized. No one else will. So the easier we can make it on volunteers, the easier we can make it for your guests to shop and spend a lot of money. um, they'll only see it for a couple days. They'll see it online, then they'll see it at your event, or maybe you're not bringing it to your event. Maybe it's closing, a couple days later. So making it easy for them to shop and spend money is our goal. We want you to increase that. Oh, we have a question that came in. Um, Linda, uh, did you touch on closing the auction? During the event versus the next day versus at the bitter end of your event?
Oh, Linda, you're on mute.
Thanks, Elise.
Sorry about that. Brings back the old COVID virtual days. So we definitely recommend closing your auction during the event and right before the fundraising portion of your event starts. We get a lot of comments like, oh, I want to keep it open after because people didn't have time to bid. The problem there is the people at your event are the most engaged and the most excited. They are the ones that are most likely going to win that item. They're also the ones that you can be speaking directly to on, oh my gosh, just 30 minutes left, creating that excitement, seeing kind of the buzz in the room. Likewise, it's super important then for your donors. Maybe I came in with a budget of $500 to spend and I bid on 20 auction items. I have no idea if I won them or I didn't win them. If you wait and close the auction the next day, I'm probably not going to give in the paddle raise because I don't know how much I've spent in the silent auction versus closing it, sending a text out, letting them know what they've won. I won 2 items. I spent $275, so I now know I can do a paddle race donation and stay in my budget.
Excellent. We have another one regarding thank you letters through from the software. So can thank you letters to auction donors be easily sent? Um,
There are two ways to send donor thank yous. So you can send them through the system via email. You can also create, as Elise is showing there, the email, so you can create your thank you letter, and then it will pull the donated items. So we have a short code that will pull the donated items, and you can send that out via email. You can also come in and create printed donor thank yous as well. So both of them, we always recommend double checking, making sure that it all, everything looks good before you print or send. But the system definitely does have short codes included that you can include in those thank you letters, pulling donor details and the item that they donated.
Excellent. Thank you. I think that was the last question I'm seeing here in the chat. If anyone else has questions, we're more than happy to answer them. I'll just touch on our next session, and I'll wait and see if we get a few more questions. Our next session in August is going to touch on giving solutions. So think peer-to-peer, online donation page, recurring donations, things like that. And we'll also touch on the updated payment process. So we will have a payment process that has increased security and more payment options. So more on that in August. As always, we'll welcome your questions. And that next session will be August 19th. So do look for that registration coming out. Share it with your team. We'd love to have, the whole team join, and then everyone is getting the same information. And then we would love to hear from you about topics that you would like to learn more about. So let us know. Let your event manager know. Place it in the chat. Like, is there a topic that really just stumps your team or you feel you spend so much time on, and there's got to be an easier way? So let us know, and we will look into that. Hang on, we have another message.
So we've got a few things coming in.
Yep,
One of the Q&A questions was, can we still use the spreadsheet to upload our items? You certainly can. And that is as simple as if you need an updated uh, item template, and I'll pop back into the software here. Under items, when you go to manage items, you can always scroll to the bottom of the page and there is download a template button. So you can always download that template, fill it out, and then drag and drop. And again, your event consultant with Boulder Events is happy to help you with this, upload it for you if you need some assistance, all of that.
excellent.
And then we do have a question regarding kind of setup at the event with items online with descriptions and donor info. Do you still set out cards with the same info on tables with the items?
That's a great question. And I would say, it depends on your space. So if you are really tight on space, I would focus on placards for items that maybe need a little more attention. So maybe you have a condo that's really amazing and it just doesn't sell as well online. Highlight that item, but a basket that clearly you can see the contents probably doesn't warrant one. So look at your space, look at your items. But it's really, really, really important to label your items, right? Again, we go back to your setup with your team, with volunteers. They can see that label, they know exactly what it is. And then again, with your bidders, we want folks to know, oh, yes, that is the item name and number that I see online, and I'm bidding on the right item. And then lastly, for your pickup. So when everything gets moved off tables, say to another area for pickup, you don't want to have the placard be its tag because things get separated, right? So the item has a tag, it gets moved. We know exactly what to give the winner um, at the end of the night. So just
Elise,
keeping those really
it
organized.
might be helpful, Elise, really quick to just show the options for item displays.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it is pretty great. There's three different templates built in for the item displays. So you've got options on what information you want to include in those displays. Each one of those templates will pull the first photo that you have. And then it also, again, assuming you turn that on, it will pull a QR code into the bottom. So really easy for your donors to click that QR code and go directly to that item. So I think definitely, back to the original question, assuming you've got space, we think it's great to use the placards, and you can see there how they look, pulls the item, and then that QR code there at the bottom of the description.
Excellent. I think that's all for their questions. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We certainly
Oh,
appreciate your
hang on one
attention
second,
here.
Trisha. We've got one more question in our Q&A. Recommended online form system for auction donations. And would love to share a QR code with donors, but where does that go? A Google form. Um, and I think, Trisha, I'll let you take this one over, but one of the easiest ways is to allow people to input right into the system for you, where it will pop up so you can share this link for folks. Under Manage Donors, this is a link to a donation form where those donors can just enter all of the info kind of for you. Um, and there's also, you can add that donate an item to your landing page. So donate an auction item can be an action bar link. It can be an entire section with a button where basically your online auction donors will can enter that info right then and there when they're making that donation to you. And then Trisha and Linda, if you can kind of talk about managing those things on the back end as well.
Lynn, do you want to take it?
So once the item has been donated online, we do have a lot of clients that include that as a link on their landing page. We have do even have some that actually have their volunteers go in, and that's how they add items. So instead of giving them access to the back end of the system, again, this can be a huge time saver for a development team. You have some volunteers that are willing to help, but you're worried about giving them access to the back end. You don't really want them to be packaging items, but really having some help with just that initial data entry. You can give them any donations that have come in. They can go in through your website, use this online donation form, and enter all of the pertinent details, the description, the exceptions, all of the donor information, and then they can add, maybe again, you're having a contest between grades on who brings in the most auction items, so you can track the solicitor who brought in that donation, and you can also have them uploading images. So again, if you've got a good volunteer team that is, gun ho, they take pictures. Again, you will have the opportunity once it lands in your into the software. You can certainly update it, make any changes that you need, but really awesome. You can then go in and look and see the donations that have come in and go through that process that we just talked about, assigning them to a category, making the decision if you want to package them or not.
Excellent. Yeah, it's a great tool. Any other questions?
Don't see any new ones in the Q&A. Any other questions in
Welcome,
the
Heather.
chat? Perfect. You're very welcome, Heather. Thank you for the great question.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, we certainly hope to see you in August. And again, let us know if there's topics that you have that you're struggling with. We're here to help you. And we'll be in touch.
Perfect.
Thanks,
And
Elise.
Thanks,
Thanks,
just
everybody.
Linda.
Yep. And don't forget, we'll send out an email with the link to the recording. So, and that goes if you're already on here, you're on here. But if you registered and weren't able to make it, we're sending that out as well. So anyone who registered will get a link to the recording. But thank you all so much.
Thank
Have,
you.
have a great
Bye.
day. Bye.